What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast. Now, I'm Alex. In this video, I want to discuss when Ni no Kuni 3 will release. Now, you could be wondering, why in God's name would you just randomly make a video on Ni no Kuni? I'll tell you why. In terms of when I'm recording this, a few weeks ago, I just beat Ni no Kuni 2. It took me forever, it took me years, but I had a long hiatus from it. Came back, absolutely. I knew I loved it from day one. This is a fantastic game. For those that don't know, Ni no Kuni 2 is a fantastic game. Ni no Kuni 1 is a fantastic game. And, we got a word, I shouldn't even say rumor. They told us that they were making, or that the next Ni no Kuni game is in development, and they said that back last summer, in the summer of 2019. They said they are making the next Ni no Kuni. So the question is, when will this game release? Well, they sure take their time with this game, and it's a worrying thing from, just from the perspective of wanting the game. I am not a person that's going to rush them. I'm not a person saying, I want this game tomorrow. Take your time. These games, I think this game specifically, especially because of the Studio Ghibli influence, which, they worked with the studio for the first one, but the second one, they didn't have that stuff, but they used what they had and what they had learned from them to make it. It took them a long time. This game actually released late, the first game. They were actually released very late 2011 in Japan, and then early 2013 everywhere else. Then the second game released in 2018, I believe in late March. So it took them from, English versions of 1 to 2, it took them 5 years. And if they had started making the second one after the first one, it could have taken them upwards of 6 to 7 years to make it. So that is an extraordinarily long time. And yes, it's a big game. Okay, yes, absolutely. I mean, it took me like 31 hours to beat it. For some people that want to do everything, it can take much, much longer. It can take 50, 60 hours. Plus, they had DLC, which extended the time. So there was a lot of work put into Ni no Kuni 2 in general, and whether or not the DLC was literally started from when the game ended and then they started making it, which, by the way, I don't believe that. I feel like it was already kind of being worked on. The question is, the question of this video, obviously, is when it would release. I don't think it's going to take as long as this one did. Okay, I don't know, again, the history behind it. I assume it may have taken so long, again, because they didn't actually have Studio Ghibli to work with them the way that they did in the first game. Okay, I honestly feel like, from the knowledge that I know, and maybe you guys can correct me or add on to it from what you guys know, that may have very significantly hurt the game's development and pushed it on. I also don't know if maybe this development team did something else in between. I'm unsure. I didn't look it up. I'm sorry about my lack of research. But I feel like this, between 2 and 3, is going to take significantly less time. Besides that, they've gone the route, or at least from 2, of being a PlayStation exclusive. PlayStation and PC. But console-wise, PlayStation exclusive. And one thing we can read into is Sony and their push for PS5. And one of the main things they've talked about with the PS5 from a development point of view, from developers, is that it's going to take less time to make your games. Okay, so you're going to be able to churn out games a whole lot faster than you did. Now, this could be a terrifying thing from a consumer perspective of monitoring game developers from the big dogs, the EAs, the Ubisofts, stuff like that. Things that or maybe even Activision with Call of Duty, sports games, which again is EA again in general. But it is a worrying thing, right? Because there's already some games that take 1, 2, 3 years, and even games that take 2 to 3 years. They come out and you say, probably could have used another extra year, right? Extra polish. And now the next console is promising, and I'm sure Xbox Series X can do the same, where it's promising to get these games out even faster. So it's will they rush them? Maybe, yeah. Maybe if you do a 2 or 3 year development time now for next gen, it is actually fully complete. 2 or 3 years is like doing 3 or 4 years on what we have right now. So maybe it cuts development time by a year. I'm not, I don't actually know the numbers, but I would assume that would be around the right thing to say, or around the right time in general. So for Ni no Kuni, how does this affect Ni no Kuni? Well, they don't have the problem of rushing their games out, right? And we only have one gap of time to actually go off of, right? We only have in between Ni no Kuni 1 and 2 to go off of. How long did that take, and kind of projecting that for the next one. So let's assume that it took 5 years, maybe 6, 5 to 6 years. I don't think it would take that long again. I'm going to probably subtract a year for the fact that they probably had problems internally. And I'm going to subtract another half to full year because of the next generation consoles making things faster. I truly do think we could get this game late 2021, early 2022, so 3.5 to 4 years after this game, I feel like is reasonable. I feel like it's expected in like a nice way. Like I don't want to say like, oh, I'm going to their door and saying, hey, you only have 3.5 to 4. Like I'm not that guy, and I don't want to be that guy. So I'm not saying that, but I think that is kind of reasonable from a game that probably shouldn't take 6-7 years to make. I think that we can start to see it shrink a little bit for this upcoming generation of consoles. Now, when does that mean I truly do believe that. I think that also means, in terms of when we could see it, it's tough. Now, here's where it gets a little messy. Ni no Kuni 2 was announced at PSX back in 2015. I cannot actually believe it's been that long, because I remember watching that live. I remember being excited about it, and I didn't know that it was that long. So that is around 2 years, almost 2.5 years from when the game actually came out. That's shocking. To be quite honest with you, I didn't do the research ahead of this. I found this out while recording this video. When does that mean we would see it? That's a really, really tough question, because even if this game is a late 2021, if not, or an early 2022 game, okay, even if it's 2 years away, is this something that we see at like a PlayStation event? Is this something we see leading into E3? Is this something we see over the summer? I kind of think it could be. If you announce these games this early, and now here's the deal. Maybe they didn't intend to announce it as early as they did, okay? Maybe that was a mistake, because when you announce a game, I get Sony is very confident in their first-party games. I get Sony allows their developers and has has the plan where, we're going to show Death Stranding, but it's not coming out for 3 years. We're going to show The Last of Us Part 2, but it's not going to come out for 3.5 years. Like, they're very confident in announcing the game and allowing that hype to kind of just naturally be there, and it's not really going to drop off because they just have that enormous support basically from its following. Ni no Kuni 2 sold extremely well. The game is on the up and up. Okay, the first game was a surprise hit. Second game sold rather well and definitely was like, okay, we have something here. We need to continue this. So there's no doubt that I wouldn't say they're like rushed because of money or rushed because these games actually sell rather well, but you do have to think that is in the back of their mind, and I don't think you can wait 5, 6, 7 years to do it. So again, I feel like that does back me up that 2022 at the absolute latest is kind of when you'd probably want to shoot for it. We're about to enter next generation territory in terms of announcements, in terms of all this stuff. And I've said on this channel for a long time now, for almost a year, that 2020 is going to be the year that we hear about a lot of games that we know exist in terms of Ni no Kuni, a lot of games that we kind of are rumored or we've heard through leaks, but we don't know yet that we're going to, a game like maybe the Batman Arkham, Rocksteady, stuff like that. There's going to be those games that are announced in 2020. And the question for those games is going to be, how far out do they want to announce it from when it's coming out? So if it's coming out in the fall, obviously this is the year. If it's coming out even in 2021, for some publishers that could be too far. Warner Bros. Likes to announce their games and they like to just come out, 3, 4, 5, 6 months after. So do they do stuff even if the game is a 2021 game? Because it's next gen, right? It's kind of exciting. It's a really good time to promote your games. You can say, hey, we're working on a massive, massive thing, and here it is. And it's for next gen, but it's a little bit longer away than what we normally do, right? We normally announce it and then we release it. This time it's going to be a little while. And, I'm just giving examples. So for this, for this situation, for Ni no Kuni 3, they've already done it where it's like they've announced it in the middle of the console generation and then it came out 2 years later. So for next gen, it could be the same thing where it's like, hey, last year we said we were working on it, and now this year we're ready to show just a little. I'm not saying we're getting gameplay. I'm not saying we're going to get a full thing. I'm saying like we get a small teaser that it's, Ni no Kuni, whatever it's called. The Revenant Kingdom was the second game's title, so stuff like that. I think that could be what happens in 2020. I would have normally said no, that a game coming out that late into 2021 or 2022, that it would be too early to announce it here. but I didn't know that they announced Ni no Kuni over 2 years before Ni no Kuni 2, 2 years before it came out. So with that being said, and with this being the year of next generation consoles, I feel like this is probably a good time. The next couple of years are very exciting no matter what. We're going to get a lot of games just announced and released in general. It's a very exciting time to be around in the gaming world. I truly do believe that. I do think Ni no Kuni 2 is going to be out faster than a lot of people think. It's already been 2 years. I mean, yeah, like back to what I said in the beginning of this video, this is a really weird timed video because it's almost 2 years since Ni no Kuni 2 came out, but at the same time, kind of good for me because it took me so long to get to it and to play it. I may not have to wait 5 years. I may only have to wait 3 years. I may only have to wait 2 years, where other people, the people that beat it day one, they'd have to wait like 4 years, right? So I consider myself lucky and privileged that I took the loser path of not playing it when I probably should have 2 years ago. But I think this game is a late 2021, early 2022 game. Guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? When do you think this game is getting announced? When do you think this game is getting released? Let me know in the comments below. And also, I love Ni no Kuni 2 all of a sudden now. So if you guys like these games and if you guys want me to make more content about Ni no Kuni, make sure you let me know in the comments below, and I absolutely will if there's enough interest, enough support for these kind of videos. Okay, so thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you guys are subscribed, have that bell icon turned on with notifications, and I'll see you all on the next video.